Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're checking out another cult classic from the Arctic Monkeys. This one's again from the first album. It's Mardy Bum. It's a real banger and it actually featured on the Glastonbury set that I watched last week. It's really amazing. Thank you so much to my Patreon community. We took a vote and this is the song that they decided that I should tackle. So this is a massive shout out to Harry, Charlie, Samuel, Yoon, Ben, Graham, Ziggy, Brad, David, Stephen and John. Thank you so much for being the first through the door. It means the world to me. If you'd like to get involved in the channel, then please click the link to my Patreon and see what I've got to offer. We'll be taking the vote on the next song that I'm going to have a look at tomorrow, so please get involved if you're interested and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And with that in mind, let's get on with the lesson. Alright then, let's start by having a look at the introduction, and this is going to be a really gentle start to the song and it should just sound a little bit like this. So we're going to be playing these shorthand versions of our A string bar chords. So we would be playing a G major, F sharp minor, E minor, and an A major. But like I say, we're playing these shorthand versions of the chords. We're getting rid of the last note, and often it's the root note that we're getting rid of. So these little chords we're playing are sort of triad inversions. That's the best way to think of them. So we're just getting rid of the root note. So you could call that a G second inversion if you like. Anyway, we're going to be starting at the 12th fret of our D, G, and B strings. I prefer to bar it. Either way, we're then going to go over to our F sharp minor, which is going to be the 11th fret of our D, 11th of our G, and 10th of our B. We're then going to take that shape down another 2 frets, so we're at the 9th of the D, 9th of the G, and 8th of the B. So that's implying our E minor, and then we're going to go over to an A major. So that's 7th fret of the D, 6th of the G, and 5th of the B. Also feel free to add in the open A string as well. And together that sequence just goes like this. And that'll take us nicely into the main progression. Now this is going to be a little bit of a funk lesson, so bear with me for a little bit, but it just goes like this. So like I said, it's a little bit of a funk lesson, this one. We're starting with our D major, so 5th fret of the A, and then 7th fret of the D, G and B. And you can use your pinky finger, like me, or you can use your ring, or you can use all three, whichever is the most comfortable for you. Let's talk about the rhythm then. We're first of all going to get rid of the string rakes, and bare bones, it just sounds like this. That's all there is to it. So we're going to do a downstroke, then a pause, then another downstroke and a pause. We're then going to do 2 upstrokes, pause again, and then we're going to do another 2 strokes, so up and down. That is all there is to it. We are then going to take that same shape up to our 9th fret, so F sharp major. So we're using the same rhythm for all of the chords. Only the next chord we go to is going to get a little bit interesting. We're going to move one fret up to a G major, and we're going to split the rhythm this time over two chords. So it's going to be G major and F sharp minor. So we're doing twice on the G, then coming in on the F sharp minor with those upstrokes. And that'll take us into our next two chords, which is going to be E minor and then an A. And again, we're going to split the rhythm once more, so it sounds like this. This one's a little bit easier. Basically, the last two times we play a chord, it's going to be an A. So right at the end of the rhythm. The sequence should just sound like this. And once we've got that down, we can then think about adding in some of our string rakes. I'll just isolate one chord to begin with, and then we'll build it up. The first chord is going to be our D, and with the string rakes, it sounds like this. So we're going to play the chord once, then do our two string rakes, then play the chord again, then one string rake, then we're going to come in with our two upstrokes. We are then going to do two string rakes, play the chord twice, and then another two string rakes to help us transition to the next chord. So very slowly it sounds like this. And once we've got that down, we can then complete the sequence. So we'll move it up to our F sharp major, and then our split bar, G and F sharp minor, then into our E minor and A, and once we get to this stage, we can now think about joining it all up together and building up the speed. Let's now move on into the introduction lead guitar, and I'm just going to break this down into 3 phrases, starting with the first phrase. It just sounds like this. So the real trick with this one is knowing when to actually come in. Basically, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, and then on the and of the third beat, we're going to come in. So it's 1, 2, 3. And that'll make a little bit more sense when you see me play it with the backing track, because you have the introduction sort of chord there. That's essentially what it's going to be, but again, that'll make a bit more sense later on. So the first note we're going to play is that 7th fret of the E, and we're playing that 4 times, so all alternate picking. We're then going to pause for a minute, then we'll move over to the 5th fret, and we'll begin this descending run. So we'll go 5th fret of the E, 7th fret of the B, 5th fret, then 7th of the G, Then we're going to slide that down to the 4th fret, and then we're going to move over to our index finger for the 2nd. So we get this. And at this point, we're then going to play the 4th fret of the G, then the 2nd, and then we're going to push the rhythm going into the 4th fret of the D now. And from here, we're then going to go to the 2nd fret. And that's all there is to the first part. Like I say, you've got to listen out for that pushed rhythm on that 4th fret of the D. It's going to sound like we're lingering on the note longer than we should be. It just goes like this once more. Anyway, that's going to take us into our second part, which is going to sound like this. So we're going to start at the 7th fret of our B. We're then going to move over to the 9th of the G, then back to the 7th of the B. We're then going to go back to the 9th of the G, down to the 7th, and that time we're going to let the note linger a little bit. We're then going to stop that, then play the note twice, so quite quickly, and back up to the 9th, and then we're going to repeat that again, so we get this. We are then going to move down to the 6th fret, and then put our middle finger on the 7th and play that twice. We'll then go back to the 6th, down to the 4th, and then the 2nd, and then we'll play that another time. And to finish the second part, we're going to go all the way back up to the 7th fret of our G, and we're going to play that 4 times, and then the 9th, and that'll take us into our third part. Let's review what we've got so far. And that'll take us into our third part, which just sounds like this. So our third part is going to be really similar to what we've just done, and in fact the very first part, so the 7th fret of a B with the back and forth to the 9th of the G, is going to be exactly the same. But when we go to play it a second time, there's going to be a really subtle variation, and that's going to be the 7th fret of our B. When we go to play that, we're going to play it 3 times now instead of 2, and the rest of the phrase remains the same. Then we'll continue on, going down to our 6th fret, twice on the 7th, then 6, down to the 4th, and at this point, instead of going down to the 2nd fret, we are going to go up to the 6th fret, then the 7th, let that note linger for a minute, then we're going to play it 4 times, sliding up to the 9th, and back down to the 7th. And when you put parts 1, 2 and 3 together, you get this. Let's now talk about the chords in the verse and the chorus, and we are going to begin with our D major, so that's going to be an A string 5th fret bar chord. We're going to let that ring out while the vocals go over the top of it. We're then going to move that up to our F sharp major, then G major, F sharp minor, and E minor. We're then going to skip out the A chord and then go straight round to the progression a second time, and this time it's going to be exactly how we did it in the introduction, so it's going to be a full-on sort of funk style guitar. However, when we get to the A this time, instead of going round to the D to go through the progression a third time, instead of doing that, we are going to jump down to a G major, and we're going to play that, let it ring out, and that will signify us going into the chorus. We'll then take that up to an A, and then we're going to do these musical stabs. So that's going to be twice on the D. I'm just going to squeeze the notes on and off quite quickly there. Moving over to our A. And then the exact same rhythm, but 3 times on a B minor. We'll then go back round to our G major and start the progression again. From here we'll go into our second verse, and that's just going to be full on funk style guitar, exactly how we did in the introduction, except you're going to play it 3 times before going into the next chorus.
Now that Mardy Bum, I see you frowning, it's like looking down the barrel of a gun and it goes off. And how come all these words? Oh, there's a very pleasant side to you, a side I much prefer. It's one that laughs and jokes around. Remember cuddles in the kitchen, yeah, to get things off the ground. And it was up, up and away. Oh, but it's right hard to remember that on a day like today when you're all argumentative and got the face on.
It's now time for us to talk about the bridge and the guitar solo, and the bridge is a really nice and simple one. We've only got 2 chords to play really. We've just got F sharp 5 and G5, and we're going to play them with a bit of a stabbing motion. It should just go a little bit like this. And right at the end there, I just went to a G major and A major, and that's going to take us nicely into our guitar solo, just keeping the rhythm really nice and loose for those last 2 chords. And the chords for our solo are going to be our verse chords, so our funky guitar progression. You get the idea with that one. Let's talk about the guitar solo then. Part 1 is just going to sound like this. We're going to begin by sliding into the 9th of our G, going down to the 7th, then the 6th, then the 7th, then we're going to go 6, 7. Afterwards, we're then going to slide back up to the 9th, descending down once more to the 7th, to the 6th, to the 7th, to the 6th. So we get this. We're then going to slide down to the 4th, play the 6th, play the 4th, then the 2nd, 4th, 2nd. We're then going to land at the 4th of the D, then play that again. We're then going to go to the 2nd of the D, hammering onto the 4th, 2nd of the G, back down to the 4th of the D, to the 2nd, then open, and again. So together, part 1 sounds like this. Part 2 then is just going to sound like this. We're going to start by playing the 7th of the G 4 times with alternate picking, up to the 9th, then the 6th, and we're going to hold on that for just a moment. We're then going to play the 6th of the G 2 times now, fairly quickly, going up to the 7th, and then the 9th. Then we're going to play that again, sliding up to the 11th, going down to the 9th, and then the 7th. That might sound a little bit confusing, so let me just recap that. And one more time. We're then going to move over to the 9th of the D. Then we're going to play it a second time, but very quickly afterwards we're going to play the 7th of the G. We're then going to play the 7th of the G again. And then we'll be into the very last part of the second part, which is going to be us playing the 9th of the G, playing it again, sliding up to the 11th, going back down to the 9th, 7th, 9th, 7th. So we get this.